And we are live. What's up, John? How's it going, buddy?
What's up, Big? It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, you too. It hasn't been too long.
It's been a couple days.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It was an exciting few weeks that you've had, huh?
Yeah. Between Comicpalooza and Anime Matsuri, it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun having you out there at both events to kind of see what I've been talking about as far as the market and getting your books out there and selling it to the customer base and stuff like that. So yeah, we did Comicpalooza. That was a lot of fun. And then 2 weeks after that, we did Anime Matsuri.
That's right.
Yeah, Anime Matsuri was a blast. It was a blast for me because I got to see a lot of friends from the chat and other creators and stuff like that. I hung out with Phil and Brandon Diaz in Chicago for Fan Expo. Then they came back, and then obviously you were there. Do they know we're live? Yes, Dean, I do. Hold on. We will say hi to the chat in just a second. But yeah, no, it was kind of cool because we got to see, a bunch of creator friends and, hang out, have a good time. So that's always a pleasure. But yes,
that was my first time meeting any of the CGers. So, I mean, meeting the Diaz brothers, meeting Figaro, meeting Preston, meeting Shane Mess, meeting Joe Ball. I mean, that was a blast. It was, being able to actually see folks.
It's a different unique experience when you get to meet the people that we hang out with all the time in real life.
Exactly.
It looks like Ollie's chat got deleted, but he did say first. So shout out to Ollie from 656. We had Nefarious as second.
Neff.
Joe M. Sontag as Turd. What up, Joe? Steve in the chat. We got Mo Biggs.
What's up?
Here we go. We got El Padrino. That's stuff. Padrino. Then we have Beyond Time Inc. John Hervey himself.
We got El Padrino representing the youth.
Yeah, the youth of everywhere. And Ollie from 656 is back. What up, yo?
What is up, Ollie?
Steve says, tweet it and get the word out. I did tweet it that we were live, so let everybody know to filter on in here as we go through things. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit of small talk here and there for the next minute or two. Let people filter in, and then we'll get going. But yeah, Anime Matsuri was a blast. It was cool meeting you and the Diaz brothers and Joe Ball. I had met Nick Ricada numerous times.
Okay.
Let's see. Met Anna, that Star Wars girl. Who else? Yellow Flash.
You met Yellow Flash with Shane Mess.
Shane, got to meet Shane for the first time. Joe for the first time. Obviously, you at Comicpalooza in real life.
That's right.
So yeah, no, it was a blast. Oh, and Chimera. Can't forget Chimera.
That's right, Chimera. Can't forget my man, Chimera.
Yeah, no, he got carded twice at the restaurant. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
John, you weren't there, but he got carded when we went in the place. Yeah. And then we sat down, and the waitress came to the restaurant and looked at him and just kept looking at him like this. And she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna need to see your ID."
Yeah.
So I was laughing at that for a minute. That was really fun. And then so she carded him, and Chimera's in his late 20s, and she looks at me and she goes, "Well, you look your age." I was like, "I'm 37," and she's like, "What?"
You got it all wrong, lady.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, when Chimera popped up, I saw this. I thought just young man standing there. Then he started to talk, and I was like, he's like, "Oh, I'm Chimera." I'm like, "Oh, dude,
yeah,
okay, let's go."
I've known Anthony Figaro for years. So seeing him was always a good. Seeing him was always a good time. He's fucking hilarious. And then we saw Preston at Comicpalooza, so it was good to see him again.
Yeah, it was good to see him again. Those boys came up from NOLA.
Yep, so blown I didn't get to meet Eric July. I know you are feeling the same way.
Man, I totally wish I had met him, but we still had a good experience at the show.
Yeah, definitely.
You know.
There was a lot going on at Anime Matsuri. We got to see some people. We can't forget we did see B-Rose, and the reason I have to bring B-Rose up is because he was the degeneracy of Anime Matsuri, getting stepped on by Anna, that Star Wars girl, with a doppelganger right here.
Yeah, seriously. That's so like the mirror verse.
Dying Days like posted that up. He like circle.
It's the mirror verse.
The same guy.
Yeah.
And then this happened. Actually, this happened at Fan Expo Chicago. Matthew Fowler getting stepped on as well. I don't know what it is with people and getting stepped on.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
It's not my way.
And the thing is, so when I was going in to the con the first day, there were people that had signs that, I'll step on you for $5.
Yeah, that was a weird thing.
We
have Stu here.
I'm like, nah.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I will pass on all of that. It's not really, it's not my way, but hell, it may be B-Rose's way, and that's
good to see him. It was good to see him though.
Yeah, I got to punch him in the face. It was great. B-Rose has been summoned. He heard we were talking.
Man, it's like Candyman. We said B-Rose 3 times.
Yep. Hail Neff, what's up? Let's see. Weebs are gross. What did you expect? Weebs aren't really gross. I think there's a couple that are degenerate. I mean, John, what was this? Was this your first anime con?
First anime con ever.
What was the vibe like for you, being somebody who's been to numerous Comic Cons?
I felt like the vibe. So in terms of it felt to me like the way comic shows felt, I don't know, maybe a decade and a half ago. I mean, it's like you really had a lot of excitement, around the properties.
Yeah.
I mean, people were hyped about the properties. A lot of cosplaying. Yeah, and the thing with it is we like to pretend like it isn't there in, kind of, the comic scene, but there's the degenerates that are there. You know what I mean? Just like there's the degenerates that are, because I'm not going to front. I was going there and I was just expecting this just to be. I'm like these degenerate vestiges, but they're just, they're just out there doing their thing, man. They love the properties that they love. They're dressing up. People are hyped though. I mean, hyped for stuff.
Yeah.
People would be like in the middle of the aisle, and they look over and they see something like maybe one of your, One Piece, wanted posters, or another character that they love. Man, that fruits basket was, I don't know, people were digging that. I mean, people were like, oh my gosh. And I'm just like, I felt like it was the hype for comics back in the day. You know what I mean? Where you're just like, oh man, look at that Wolverine, that's tight. So it was just it was a fun
feel. It was a degenerate den. I think maybe B-Rose made it that.
B-Rose the only one I saw. I didn't see anyone get stepped on. I only saw the image of B-Rose.
Nick Rekieta got stepped on as well. I don't think by Anna. I think by somebody else.
All right.
I heard it happen. I saw a picture of it, and it was.
I'm not with that, but
no, it's not my way. But
but you know what? If that's somebody else's way,
right? So I guess I'll get Anime Matsuri a little bit out of the way. So I've gone to Anime Matsuri. This is my 4th year going. I went last year, and I went in 2016 and 2015. This was actually the worst Anime Matsuri that I've been to. This was about, and I talked to some other people. It was about maybe 40-45% of the normal crowd that comes to Matsuri. And I was about 40-45% of my sales that I usually get there.
Okay.
But then I was hearing that, Comicpalooza was my first time at Comicpalooza, and people were saying the same thing about that con as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's at a point where the economy is starting to finally like take its toll a little bit on the convention scene.
I think so, man.
But just imagine like how well you did there, and we'll get into that. Hail D-Wag, we got D-Wag in the chat. How well you did at that con at Anime Matsuri, and to think that was 45% of the normal attendance, just how well you would have done if it was the full attendance.
Yeah. No, agreed.
Did not really seem really full or stacked on the exhibitors too. Exhibitor wise for Matsuri was about what it normally is, actually. They normally have when into the struggle Israel. They normally have a car show that goes on inside, in the vendor hall, and they normally have a space for celebrities. All that stuff is typical of Anime Matsuri. So I wouldn't say that. Let's see. It was the worst because there was some tiara-wearing weirdo begging women to step on it. True. Very true.
And he was bald-headed.
Yeah, he shaved his head.
Yeah.
It was weird. I wasn't expecting it. Well, I kind of was because I've seen him on stream at some point, but I don't know when that transition happened. I thought maybe because of the fallout of me and him no longer being on stream, he just had like a Britney Spears moment and just decided to shave his head.
Or the stress of it, his hair just fell out.
He just was like, "No, I'm doing it." Sorry, B-Rose. I'll take the blame for that. But anyways, so we went to like I said, let's circle to Comicpalooza.
Yeah.
How was your experience at Comicpalooza? Tell me about what you saw, how you felt, sales, all that stuff. Let's talk about that.
So Comicpalooza, just for I guess some perspective, that was the first show I'd been to post pandemic. So that was the first show I've been to in years. So I was stoked to be going there. Appreciate you opening up the booth to me. So we got there. It seemed like the flow of folks was pretty light. And Sunday was exceptionally light.
It was only 2 days.
Yeah.
Played a role.
Yeah. Sunday was, and it was just like you said, it was just a Saturday Sunday show, and Sunday was a sleeper. It was a mix. It was interesting. It was a mixed bag of comics folks and anime folks at the, and I think I didn't sell very many units, but I think I sold more units to Weebs than I did comic book folks.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is kind of funny because, and the thing is, you had the way your booth is set up with, all the awesome metal work, and you've got a lot of the kind of anime properties up there. It kind of draws people's eyes.
Right.
And then they come to the booth and they're looking at other stuff. And I think for me, it was just kind of figuring out. I was also kind of figuring out, what the hustle was, kind of, so to speak. It's like you've got a market, you've got folks that have money and they're willing to spend their money, but it was kind of figuring out, well, how do I tie these together? One of my concerns was like, man, my style is more of a Western style. And I was kind of concerned that maybe I should stick to just trying to, talk to the folks that were interested in your Western, kind of prints.
Okay, so the stuff that Anthony Figueroa did that was comic related.
Yeah,
right.
And that stuff is hot. But even at a comic show, those didn't sell much. It was the anime stuff that was moving for you. Mm-hmm. So then at that point, I was like, either I'm going to change my strategy or I'm not going to sell anything.
Right. And we had a conversation about like, hey, compare Magna to Record of Ragnarok for people.
Exactly.
And then I think when you did that, it kind of changed the pace a little bit.
It did, and it's like even with the limited knowledge that I have of anime, like one of the guys, I just kind of let him know that like, I've watched some old school anime, like one of the first, things I saw was, Ninja Scroll, and just kind of, gave some of those elements in Black Tiger, and that sold the book to that guy, kind of giving a little bit of Ninja Scroll elements, in Black Tiger. And I started kind of realizing that we just have to kind of bridge the gap. We got to bridge the gap for folks, because as I talked to folks, there wasn't, and I know we're still at Comicpalooza. We haven't gone Anime Matsuri, because at first I was thinking to myself, well, I'll go to Comicpalooza, but there's no use for me to go to Anime Matsuri. But I actually ended up moving more books with Weebs than I did with comic book folks, and I did sell some books to comic book folks, that came to pick up books that were actually looking. There were actually some folks out there that were like, man, there's no indie books out here, and was able to find some folks. But for the most part,
Weebs spend cash.
OC Steve, facts, bro, facts. This, and the thing is, because this is so. Here's the thing.
Thank you, D-Wag. Appreciate it. Enjoy the closeout for Tiger Blue 2 that's happening tonight on D-Wag's channel, guys. If you are free this evening, definitely go over to D-Wag's channel.
That's right.
And check out Tiger Blue. The closeout is happening tonight. Great property, great book, and I can't wait to get it in my hands for sure. Tiger Blue 1 was amazing.
Yeah.
So, let's do it.
Pick that book up, y'all. Let's go. Support indie comics. But so
hey, he's in the warehouse, but listen.
What's up, E? So it was interesting for me, kind of realizing the need for the change in strategy. OC Street is 100% right. Weebs go to shows with cash, and they expect to spend their money. Some of the examples were extreme, but they were real. Because like you look at some of these folks, and I'm like, you're not that old, but what little job they have, they're spending all their cash on their weebery.
Yep. Sure.
So you start to realize that there's a market there, and the same way, and I likened it to, so when we were at that show, this one dude, at Comicpalooza. So we haven't even gotten Anime Matsuri.
Right.
We were at Comicpalooza, and this one dude comes up because for some reason there are a whole bunch of folks that were Dragon Ball folks, but they weren't Goku folks. They were Vegeta folks. And if you guys don't know that,
more to adults.
Yeah. So this dude, he had named his son Vegeta.
Mm-hmm.
And it tripped me out because it reminded me of going to a comic show back in the day. And like back in the day, people were naming their kids Logan, because they were naming their kids after Wolverine, and then like seeing people and they've got like, their tats, and I'm like, man, you're committed if you're putting that thing on your body for life.
Mm-hmm.
But so what it made me realize too is, and a number of the folks, especially the folks that were a little bit older, they were comic book folks. They were folks that started off reading comics. They got disenfranchised with comics. So one way or the other, they found their way to manga and anime, but they weren't opposed to comics. They're just opposed to the same stuff we're opposed to. The very reason why we're all together, the very reason why CG exists. They're in the same mindset. But the thing is, we live in this. So all of us, we live in this bubble, and we think like this whole CG SJW war is like this thing that's big out in the public. Nobody knows about this.
No.
People have no idea this.
They just know they don't like what they see, they just laugh. They don't actually pay attention to the anything within like the pop culture aspect of comics, right? It's just like, oh, this I'm not really into it, whatever, bye. And then they go into manga and they totally forget about comics and they just leave it be. They don't pay attention to it. It just doesn't exist.
So I really feel I came away from there feeling like, okay, there is a market for us here. Mm-hmm. The thing that we have to do, and the challenge of any market is education, right? Is because The problem is when people think comics, they think Marvel and DC. And
well, they think regurgitation, right?
exactly.
They think, okay, it's the next, it's a 50th run, you know what I mean? Like a new run. We're gonna see Spider-Man fighting some dude for like the 50th time, and I'm kind of over it. I don't care. There's no progression.
And I think that's a huge part of it. And I know even for me, and we all have these stories, the story arcs that we loved, and then they rebooted, and those story arcs no longer had any impact on the universe. And you're just like, what is this? And one of the things that I've come to realize, even as I've been educating myself more, watching some shows, I started watching Demon Slayer, started watching One Piece, just starting to, and my son, he's been watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, whatever, so that one's a little weird for me, but
yeah, it's not my thing. But ooh, we got Eddie Winkler in the chat. Hello, Eddie.
What's up, Eddie?
For stopping in.
My dude, Eddie. What's going on, man?
So the analytics don't lie. Anime Expo makes twice as much as San Diego Comic-Con. It is true.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, but it's true. You get. I mean, shit. You're seeing the slow takeover even when you get to something like the Macy's Day Parade and Thanksgiving now has Goku as a float. Before it used to just be Spider-Man, like the Peanuts gang, fucking,
yeah,
whatever thing for kids, in pop culture references. But now you're seeing Goku as in that as well. So it kind of shows just how mainstream the anime and manga community is broken into our culture.
But I think the thing, and it kind of moving towards Anime Matsuri, the thing that I appreciated, so this was the thing, Comicpalooza, probably a good percentage. I don't know if half, I don't know if more of those folks were actually anime folks. If you looked at the costumes that were around, there were still more anime folks cosplaying than comic book folks.
Yep.
So that was that. Then you go to Anime Matsuri, and there's very little like comic stuff at all.
Mm-hmm. I think
and I know how we are comic book folks. We're like weebs. We want nothing to do with them. They're degenerates. All that. They're the subhumans coming out of the sewer. We don't want anything to do with them.
Yeah, they're just pervy weirdos that nobody wants to associate with.
But the reality of the matter is, even as I talked to folks over the course of those 3 days, there wasn't any weeb that was like, oh man, that's Western style art. Right. That was never the reaction. At the end of the day, one of the things that they understand is they understand story progression. They understand story arcs. They like the fact that some of the stuff that Phoenix Animation had were manga and anime that were done. Their arcs were completed. And people were like, oh, I loved that manga. I loved, So it's like they didn't rehash it. They didn't bring it back, 3 or 4 times. So it's like you realize that people want good stories.
Mm-hmm.
And when and this was one of the conclusions that Phoenix Animation really helped me come to. I realized that even though we don't like to admit it, we're a lot more like the manga market than we are like the traditional American comic book market, because all of us are making stories. We're making story arcs. We're making, we're not making things that are just made to be rebooted and rebooted and rebooted. We're trying to tell a story. Some of us are trying to tell our opus. And I feel that's what they're doing. So, I feel like the divide is a lot smaller than we think. And that there are folks there that as we bridge that, we're going to find that we have a lot of customers there as well.
Alex Vrb Hill, thanks for joining us. Just catching up. I agree with John 100%. I came from a mostly U.S. media background. Real anime, not funny dub shit. Was the rare bootleg hard sub VHS tapes. Yep, I remember those tapes. And then he says, I moved more and more into anime manga. Only came back into comics when I discovered CG.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. But the thing is,
Been exposed to
just
different
like
art styles and IPs. Yep.
just like where Alex is talking about, we got to help other people, find their way to where we are. We can't just toss out the Weebs. We can't do that.
You're tossing out the entire market at this point.
Yeah. And when we talk about market size, I mean, Brandon was showing me some of that stuff. I think he's going to show it here as well. I mean, in terms of market size, it's just staggering how much larger the manga market is than the comic book market. But you could fit the comic book market in like the manga market's pocket.
Yep.
Like next to a little bit of lint.
Mm-hmm. So when we were there at Anime Matsuri, one of the things that was happening was people were coming. There was two things happening. One, most people saw like some kind of metal prints or whatever, right? They were looking at the metal stuff, and then they would look down and see, or look over and see your books, and be like, "What is this?" And like, "Oh, you're the creator," and they're like I remember you were selling a book, and some guy literally goes, "Oh, wait, you're the creator?" And you're like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Like, "Oh,
he was walking by. He was walking by while I was selling the book to somebody else.
Yeah. He goes, "Oh, well, I'm definitely buying one." And then boom, he bought on the spot. Just dropped the money on the spot. I think he got Black Tiger.
Yeah.
The first edition. And so people were down to drop money on news stories. I remember the guy, his name's like David. He ended up buying a bottle opener from me, and then we were just talking, and he was just like, I buy, I've watched, I've read all the whole 1,055 chapters of One Piece twice. And I was like, damn. He's like, yeah, I've got all these. He's like, I've got 5 Shonen Jump accounts so that I can read all my manga, because you can only get up to 300 for, your subscription or whatever. I'm like, oh, since you're a reader, check out what John's doing. And he was like, he was super hyped over what you were doing. And that's the thing, is that a lot of people, a lot of the manga anime reader, anime people now are people like us, or like Alex, like me, or like Alex Vrb, or like B Rose. We started off with American comics, and we weren't satisfied where we were going. Went to that community, and now that we're learning what's happening here, we're loving the story progression. We're getting the same kind of story progression we're seeing in manga, but with the Western art style that is, great. And I think that's the best of both worlds. Yeah. And I think we can, if creators can get into cons and start really promoting that we're bridging the gap of creating, the West, great quality Western style comics from, the stuff that you were seeing back in the 90s, early 2000s, before all the people that were producing really good artwork left.
That's right.
You would see, and we're doing it with manga-esque story progression. People would flip their damn mind, and like you would have constant sales. But one of the things that, and we talked about this a lot, and it was something that I wish Armand was able to come on, because Armand had some success over at Florida SuperCon, and we'll get into that for a minute. But there is, you have to have, if you're an indie creator, you have to have fan art of some kind at your booth.
Yes.
Because people are drawn, people don't give a shit. Like if you just have your books out on a table, people are going to walk by you. They don't care. They don't know anything. They don't care.
No.
They don't take the time to flip. Now, if they see a fan art that they like what was happening at my booth, right? People were seeing the fan art metal prints and stuff, and then we're learning about what you were doing and becoming interested. And
that's right.
Purchasing. Armand has his book. He went to Florida SuperCon down in Miami, and he just had a Stranger Things fan art print that he did, just sitting on his table, and people were coming up and buying it like crazy. And then he was telling me that he had his books out, like his latest book out, and people were taking a look at it, and he sold 106 copies at Florida.
Absolutely.
Now, mind you, his are smaller comics that are for a more affordable price, but 106 units is 106 units.
Exactly. Exactly.
For I guess in perspective between what you sold at Comicpalooza and what you sold in Anime Matsuri, what's the difference? Like, what are we looking at?
I made probably at least 3x at Anime Matsuri. Just for perspective, like I said, Comicpalooza Sunday was dead.
Yeah.
I moved.
Sunday at Matsuri was kind of, but you were killing it Sunday at Matsuri.
Sunday was great for me at Matsuri, bro.
Sunday at Matsuri was your greatest day. But for me, it was kind of dead.
The show, like the last few hours, it's like the Weebs had money that hadn't burned through their pocket yet.
Yeah.
And they I guess they just said it's got to go. I
don't even think it was that. I think like even some people, like the one guy, he was like, I just don't have any money left, but I want this. Yeah. Give me your information so I can order all these books tonight or tomorrow when I get home.
Exactly.
Money in my pocket. Like even the ones that didn't have money, they were left anymore. They were taking your info. They wanted your books.
Then that's another important takeaway. Giving people, because I didn't when I first went to comics. When I went to Comicpalooza, I didn't have cards. You want to have something that people can just grab and go with.
Yeah.
Because I checked and people have registered on my site. People have bought the books subsequently. So I've gotten sales. Because I just had to explain to people, because people don't. We think people understand crowdfunding. No. They don't. Because people are like, oh, do you have an online store? I had to help them realize. I'm like, listen, I don't have a Shopify store yet, but if you go here, it'll take you to these crowdfunding platforms, but the books are ready, so you can back, and then you can, then we'll send you the book. So it was one of those things where it's like I realized that I'm going from, because basically all I've been doing the last year and a half has been pretty much online with CG. So this is what we know, but then you realize that most folks out there don't know.
Right.
So they're like, I'm like, it's a crowdfunding platform, but the books are produced. So it's my store now.
Yeah.
These are all in demand. This is my store now. So if you go there, you'll be able to buy the books. And so it's just making it easy for folks to be able to make that transition. So make sure you have like
Shopify.
You do. Well, I need to. I mean, well, we already know that Aerith has been speaking truth for a long time, and that's the next step for me.
Good.
At least from a digital perspective, is the Shopify store. The next Black Tiger volume is close to done, and there's a good chance I'm going Shopify, and there's a good chance I may not do any more crowdfunding platforms.
Crowdfunding is good for if you need the money, like if you're a new creator, because most people won't back a creator that, some dude comes out of nowhere and says, hey, I'm making a book, come check out my, website and buy, it's not done yet, but it will be, you're kind of iffy. You don't have that relationship, but you already have an established reputation for producing quality books. And if the book is already done, there's absolutely no reason to give any crowdfunding platform, 20-30% of your money. You've already done everything. You need to keep that money for yourself. Let's see, hold on. I'm going to go back to what Alex Vrb was saying. He says, many Weebs are open to U.S. creators and different art styles.
Yeah.
Always a good idea to reach out to the ones that are anti-censorship, anti-woke, non-woke cons are a good place as any. Yes, I mean, I just think it goes back to what you said here at the beginning of this. Weebs are open to U.S. creators and different art styles. Mm-hmm. I don't think it matters whatever anime kind of con you go to. You're gonna have people that just they love consuming story.
Yeah.
And story with purpose, right? It's like I said, it goes back to the difference between what we're doing and what the big two are doing.
Yeah, and that's why I also feel like we're more closely aligned. I'm going to be, and I'm more closely aligned because, yeah, you could say in a certain respect, man, these folks are degenerates and doing whatever. But you know what? Folks are doing what they want to do, and they're backing what they want to back. There isn't this huge backlash that we're seeing in comics, with these voices coming from the left and all this kind of stuff. That's not happening. And for those and when it does happen in anime, nobody cares. It's just, people are just out there when we went to that show, man, it's like people were cosplaying, they're doing whatever, man, they didn't care. They did not care.
Brian says, anime is just the cool thing to hate. And the weird thing is that hate is only one-sided from comic book creators. Yeah. I mean, John, I think you told me when you first came to Comicpalooza, I know Preston said it, and I think you said it too, that there's no money in anime cons. I know Preston.
That was just an assumption. That wasn't based on any fact.
Okay. Well, no, that's kind of the words that have been floated about.
Yeah.
I think even Preston, when he came to our booth, to the booth at Comicpalooza, he goes, "I heard Weeb cons. People don't buy comics at Weeb cons," and I was like, "You're 100% wrong." And I was like, you'll sell more at an anime con than you will at a Comic Con. I told him that at Comicpalooza, and here you are saying you made 3 times as many sales at an anime con that happened at the same convention center 2 weeks after the Comic Con.
Yeah.
You sold 3 times as much, and subsequently you've had more hits on your website and more hits on your campaign as a result. So it's only going to go up. Let's see. And then the Art and Times are Jay Ryan. What's all this then? Me and John are discussing post Anime Matsuri. Also, John was with me at Comicpalooza 2 weeks before Anime Matsuri, and we're just talking the numbers, talking what sold, how much was sold between the 2 various cons, and trying to educate and open people up to the idea that if you are an independent comic creator, you 100% should also be selling. You should be selling at cons, but you shouldn't never just sell at a Comic Con. You should always be considering selling at an anime con, because those guys have money, are willing to spend it on good story.
That's right.
Let's see. By the way, Phoenix, you look great on that shirt that I designed. There you go.
Oh yeah.
He gave me the senpai shirt. It's very true. Senpai.
You moved some of those shirts too.
Yep. Is this a weeb safe zone? Yes, this is.
Yes.
And it should be, and there should be more.
That's my whole point. My whole point that is, if we want to grow our market, we have to be willing to reach out to the weebs,
right?
Because they are great consumers of the type of content that we make.
Yeah. John, you're a perfect example. So Joe, at Anime Matsuri and at Comicpalooza, I had the brochure thing you gave me with the QR code and the pages of Reaper Destroyer out on the table. Mm-hmm. John, you were there. How many, you saw people picking up those flyers?
Yeah.
What do you think had more people? Where do you think was more people picking up his flyer, at Comicpalooza or at Matsuri?
Beyond a shadow of a doubt, it was at Anime Matsuri, and even as people were coming by, the booth, because basically we had kind of, the books laid out on one table, and people were grabbing the books, they were grabbing all the collateral, and I said, man, this is good stuff, because at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is build market awareness. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you get that sale and it's awesome, but sometimes you at least get your collateral in somebody's hand, and then they check it out later.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, people picked up your card. You're getting traffic on your website as a result of it. And I don't know, Joe, if how your campaign's been doing, or if you've had more hits, but a lot of people at Anime Matsuri were picking up that flyer with the QR code. A ton of people. They looked at it. They were looking at your art on the pages there, and they were just grabbing it. They wanted it.
And but even that was an educational process, because letting people realize that it's going to a campaign page, you know? So just, I was just kind of letting folks know this is going to a campaign page. What does it need? What's that? Oh, well, it's a way for people to fund the production of the book. They're like, oh, okay.
And we have Darian Aguilar in the chat. Any updates on the animations? Been a minute. Yes. So Galden's almost done. It'll be done at the end of August here. Then we'll get final print copies, we're going to do some edits, get some test prints, and then hopefully debut it at New York Comic Con, and then go straight into animation. So that's the plan, brother. Here we go.
Yeah. Animation is definitely a part of the plan.
Joe M. Sontag said, "Leave lives matter." I mean, it really is, and I mean, like we were talking at Matsuri and at Comicpalooza, and I was kind of letting you know, like, about 80% of the people that buy manga picked it up as a result of seeing the anime and wanting to see how the original creator made their story. That's about 80%. And 20% are just manga readers that they kind of like that guy David that showed up to the booth. He just buys manga, and then he'll watch the show if he likes the manga. It's interesting. So animation is the way to get into the market space.
I think so.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe I can make it down there next year. I think you should. I think you should hit up MegaCon with us in March, April down in Orlando, and then you should hit up Matsuri for sure. Matsuri will be a blast next year. As long as everything continues to go our way. Let's see. It's an eye-opener to realize how many people don't know what crowdfunding is at cons. 100%. They're not used to it. You gotta understand is that the comic book culture that's at cons right now are people that really are just enthusiasts that like the movies and got into it because of the movies. They're not. Most comic book people nowadays aren't people that actually liked comic books.
That even shows in the cosplay. How many? So the only comic book characters we really saw, you saw like a Batman here, a Spider-Man there. When we saw the Teen Titans, I was like, man, the Teen Titans are really getting represented here. But it was all because
animated versions.
Because the freaking animated show. And the Starfire always gives it away. You're like, that's not the comic book Starfire. That's the animation Starfire.
Lots of anime manga bidirectional conversion, vastly higher rates than U.S. comics to U.S. comic films. Agreed.
And that's the other thing. I mean, especially as I guess as we're talking about where we're all hopefully headed in the future as well with the animation and things like that. Having that bridge between the anime and the manga is what enables that beast to keep feeding itself. The problem is with American comics, the American comics have no relevance or very little relevance to the movies and vice versa. And that's because of the entertainment machine that Hollywood is. Hollywood's not trying to preserve the content. It's trying to do whatever its bean counters and whoever thinks need to be done to make it good.
I think we've seen time and time again where creators, these Hollywood movie directors and stuff will literally say, I've never read that book or I've never seen that thing. I don't even know. Like, they have no concept of the source material at all.
Yeah.
They're like, they don't actually give a shit. It's just a cash grab.
And now I think even a bigger problem now, it's like, okay, so let's say you want Batman source material. What source material do you use now? There's so many renditions.
Nope. You can't. You pick one and then hope, hope people like it. But that's the problem is when we're talking about what it is that manga enthusiasts like about manga that they're not getting in American comics, it's a flushed out story with constant progression. You know, when you have all these, you know, renditions of the same old characters, people get confused. They don't care. They're like, well, what am I wasting my time for? It's just going to be the same old thing over and over again. I think we grew up in a time where, one, it wasn't rehashes, and the rehashes that were coming out were of artists that we liked.
That's right.
And so you would buy the, you know, I mean, a 3 or 4 issue run because you love the artist. You know, whether it's like, you know, Silvestri for Joe Santa, he's all up into Silvestri, or Liefeld or any of those guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We said, oh, hey, that guy's making a run of this. Like, let's see what this is. Dale Keown, for instance. We loved the Dale Keown artwork that we were seeing. And so anytime anything, it was more, we followed Dale, or we followed
exactly.
We followed Liefeld. We didn't actually give a shit about what it was that they were even producing. We just wanted to see their artwork on cool characters.
Yeah.
And conversely, that's what manga creators are doing with manga, because the creator is the artist, you know, with manga. And so they go, oh man, I love what Oda did in One Piece, or I love what Kentaro Miura did in Berserk, or, you know, I love what what's his face, you know what I mean, like what all these people did with their story. We were following the story and the artist and creator together.
And I think that's why it's such an easy transition for Weebs to buy our stuff, because like, oh, you're the creator. You know, it's like, you know, we love, you know, it's like, hey, yeah, you, like you said, you know, how many folks are talking about Oda and talking about One Piece? I mean, as much as they talked about the property, they talked about the creator. You can't do that with any of the big two stuff, because all the different renditions, the different versions, you know, if you say Batman, it's like, well, whose Batman are you thinking about? You know, whose Batman are you thinking about?
I think and for those of you guys watching, Joe M. Sontag has a channel, a great channel, and he's been producing some live streams lately that are really good. And he's been doing like top 5. So he'll be like, oh, I think one was like top 5 Wolverines, and like who was the artist and what was the run on Wolverine, for instance. And which is cool because, you know, I mean, he's got a great taste in art, and so he'll bring in other, you know, he'll bring in guests and have their, you know, Kayla will talk about her top 5, you know, of whatever character they're talking about. But again, you're talking top 5 of the same character with the same kind of storyline, and there's no progression. So anyways, regardless, I think we were talking in circles a little bit, or hitting the point home a little bit too much. But yes, you all should be considering, if you are a indie comic creator, you should not only be looking at Comic Cons. I think you should primarily be focused on your anime conventions. You're going to have more access to more people with money that are willing to spend it on brand new IPs that they've never heard of before, and are willing to follow you long term if they like what you're producing.
Yeah.
I'll kind of give a little bit of a, this is true. It's the difference between the mainstream and us indie creators.
That's right.
And that is exactly why we are pretty much the same as manga creators or European comic creators, because
that's right,
of the creator-owned IP. I'm going to go into this real quick. I'm going to share this. This is one of the things that we're talking about when we talk about the marketplace, for instance. I think it's. We all look at the numbers that, for instance, Rippa's kind of the king of the comic game right now, right? And he's at about 39,000 units sold. When we take a look at Manga Series, Manga Series sales ranking from November 22nd, 2021 till May 22nd. Number of copies for Jujutsu Kaisen, 9.3 million.
That's units.
That's units. That's copies. 9.3 million. We get into number 2, Tokyo Revengers. Decent story. 7.2 million. Spy Family, which is like a brand new series that's starting to gain a lot of traction. 4.8 million units. One Piece, which has been going on forever, 4.1. And My Hero Academia with 2.8 million. We're talking, these are units. This isn't even dollars.
Yeah.
And like this is the market, right? These are the people that are just, and this is a 6-month time period. This is a 6-month time period of people buying copies of a project.
Yeah.
And numbers like that is something that we'll never like we need to be aspiring to hit numbers like that, right? We need to understand that that is the market, right? There's 10 million people that want to buy a copy of a book.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to be accessing that.
Yeah.
And so far we're not. We're not really out in the market. We have CG. CG is a phenomenal resource community. It's a resource community of other creators doing other awesome things and inspiring, us and other creators to do new things. Right? Somebody has some kind of talent. Shadowpunk has figurines. I have the metal prints. Other people. John Sontag. A lot of people love what he did with the Ash Can release for Reaper Destroyer, just to get books in hands so people could see what they're getting when they buy the actual book. There's a lot of creators doing really great stuff, and we also have a good, a good initial customer base of people that are enthusiasts that want to have an autographed first edition of a book.
That's right.
But the actual market is out there. It's at your cons. It's on the internet. It's everywhere that we should be, right?
Yeah.
We should be at every single convention that we can get into. We need to start displaying fan art. You should have fan art of characters that people know and love, because that's what's going to draw them in.
That's the truth.
When they're drawn in, while they're looking over the stuff, while they're talking to you, so you like that art style, you like that thing, this is my book, this is how, this is the same art style as that. If you like that art style, you're going to like this style.
That's right.
One of the things that you were doing very, very well at the con was saying, oh, hey, you like Record of Ragnarok. If you've ever seen that, Magna the Last Pantheon is very similar to that, that kind of a story where you have all these different gods, and people were excited. I mean, you sold out of Magna there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, guys, John sold out of Magna there.
That was really cool. It was it was unexpected, but just like you're saying, B, I mean, it's like you got to build a bridge, so I was asking people what they were watching and reading, and then some of them I was saying, hey, well, have you watched this? Have you watched Record of Ragnarok? Oh yeah, well, this has a lot of those same elements in it. Have you watched Demon Slayer? Well, this has, it has the mystical elements, it has the martial arts elements, and then people are like, oh, okay. So they're starting to kind of get a tenor for where your book's coming from based on something that they already like.
Yep. And that's why having fan art of their characters and stuff is a very good way of bridging that gap. One, you can make a sale on your fan art, and then that's going to help you to pay for your booth and all that stuff and give you more money in your pocket. Two, it's going to give you some information about what they're watching, and then you should be able to reference some aspect of your book based on the character from the show that they're buying.
Yeah. And I think that was.
Thank you for stopping by and hanging out. Much appreciated.
Later, Darren.
Don't work too hard.
No, but it's important. It's important for us to be able to access our fan base, give them something they like, and then bridge them over to what we're doing.
Right. PTP is pushing to have a larger CG presence at MegaCon, and that's good and all. But in MegaCon's a great con. Don't get me wrong. There's so many people that go there. But then you also have Florida SuperCon, which people don't really talk about that. but that is more geared towards anime, but has just the same size crowd as MegaCon. So it's definitely something to think of. It says, for the Fans Fest is not happening anytime soon, so creators need to show up at cons. 100% right.
That's right.
And
that's right.
That's exact. He's like, that's why I bring up Black Lagoon and Psychopaths, which is 100% correct if you were doing it with a customer base that knows what you're referencing, heroes. Unfortunately, when you're doing it on the channel, when you're doing it on your show, most of the people here are comic book creators that may not necessarily have seen Black Lagoon or Psychopaths, so they have no frame of reference. When you go to a con and you talk to people that have, that are, Black Lagoon's kind of a classic, so you kind of have to have, a little bit older heads. You could talk Black Lagoon. Psychopaths is relatively newer, so that might go well with all ages. But you have to be able to, be pitching that kind of thing to a market that knows what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Season 1 of Psychopaths is awesome. Thankfully, it's the only season that exists, and there's no other season, no matter what anyone says. It's true. It's true. Very true. Shout out to Alex Vrb. But yeah, I think that's part of the point, and that's part of the problem that when you want to pitch Cerebrum Bureaus, you have to be pitching it to the market that it's based for. If yours is based for based off of ideas that came from those shows, you need to be pitching it to people that have watched those shows. Jay Ryan, I know both of those. They good. Yes, they are. It's a good thing Edge Runners is coming out. You put a game out of them. Anyways, so yeah, I think that was I think it was a great takeaway from the con.
Yeah.
I do want to share one other thing from Anime Matsuri. It was kind of cool to hang out with a lot of the guys there.
Yeah, no, it was great seeing guys out there, man.
There's Chimera, Preston Acevedo. You got Anthony Figueroa flipping off, Brandon Diaz. This is all right. You got B Rose. I don't know if this is pre or post the stepping. Let's find out when that is. We got Phil Diaz here, who's videoing, and we have Anthony taking a picture, and we have Cecil in the back realizing, oh shit, I'm about to be maskless. I can't do that. Went into hiding. Get back. And we have Shane Mess. Here with Preston and Anthony. So
yeah,
I mean, Matsuri was a great time. Like it was. I mean, Matsuri has always been something special, even though for me it wasn't as lucrative this year, and I think that has to do with the economy more than anything else, because Comicpalooza was the same way.
Yeah.
I have not had the chance to hang out with so many people from the chat, from the different shows that we've done and things like that, and it was great to see.
Well, so one thing that did happen.
Pictures of Phil and Brandon going Eiffel Tower on Cecil. I saw the drawing. I did not. I did not.
Yeah, I saw the drawing.
Where the reference for the drawing came from, and I will be okay if I never see where the reference.
Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to. Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to.
It's true. It's true.
No, I did have one guy that came to the booth, and was funny. We talked about some shows. He was looking at stuff that you had, and he looked down, and he had backed Magna before. He had backed Magna.
I remember that guy on Friday,
right? And he bought Black Tiger.
Was that Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you came on Friday, right? It was the first. It was day one. I remember that guy. He was like, "Wait a minute, I backed this book," and he was like, "Oh, you're the guy," and you're like, "Yeah." And that's the thing. Even people that back the book, they go to these cons and are looking for stuff, and it's your chance to actually interact with your customer base.
Yeah.
With your non-creator customer base, in a face-to-face setting. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you can do YouTube streams and build your channel, and people can follow you kind of the same way that EVS and Mail and them all do, and that's always fun. But to be able to have like a direct interaction with a customer, face to face, and it creates a personal bond between you and your customer base.
That's right.
And I think it creates loyalty for life. So I think that guy backed, he backed Black Tiger, and I guarantee he's going to go when the next books come out. If he's following you, he's going to go, man, I remember meeting that guy in real life at the con. Hell yeah, I'm backing this. Like he's going to be super stoked. And I think
conversely, there were a number of folks that came to the booth you talked to that bought something, and then when you told them that you were making a book, they got hyped.
Oh yeah. The second I said I'm like, making a book? One guy flipped. I said, yeah, I'm making a manga. He's like, what? Oh my God, tell me what they're about. Like I need to know. Like he was super stoked, and he's like, yeah, I'm following you. Let me know when it's out. Like all that stuff. And I deal with those interactions every week. And I'm building. For me, it's about building my foundation. So as I go to these cons again after Galden comes out, I'm going to have a massive customer base of people that I've already interacted with that know what's coming and are waiting for it.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got it's Trigger, Alex VRB. My monkey brain is turned on. Well, there you go. I guess they're talking about the game, or they're talking about the Eiffel Tower. I'm not really sure. Let's see. I mentioned them, Eiffel Towering Cecil on Ethan's stream, and it snowballed from there. Good job, Jay Ryan. It's your fault that exists. Before, man, I don't know. On that note, any final thoughts? Anything you want to say to the people watching, whether they be backers, whether they be fellow creators? What is your ultimate takeaway?
Hey, we're still growing. We're still learning. I think just as a group, we got to realize we don't want to shut out the weebs. We don't want to make the things that we're doing, exclusive from the weebs. I'm not saying that you need to change what you're doing, but we just have to realize that that's going to be part of our growth strategy. Is bringing weebs into the fold of what we're all doing.
I agree. I agree. I mean, you said it before, and I'll reiterate it. Actually, one of the things that people did say, a couple people said when they looked at your books, and I kind of forgot about that. They were flipping through the pages, and they said, "This is professional quality. This is professional grade. Like, holy crap, this is amazing." Mm-hmm. They were blown away by the quality of the book that you were printing and the art style. Even though they were into anime and manga, they were blown away at the art style. They are very accepting of comics and that comic book style. So as a creator, you do not have to change your style.
That's right.
I would recommend, though, and I highly recommend this for every creator. Hail Raiden Radio. Thanks for joining us. There are certain anime manga that you should either watch or read that will impact the way that you tell story in a positive way. Yeah. It will give you a different perspective that you can then apply to your story and give it a better flow, make it something more expansive than you thought possible.
That's right.
I think you were very much inspired by the couple episodes you watched of One Piece after my recommendation.
Yeah, definitely.
You were inspired by it, and it kind of gave you an idea for going about certain aspects of your book going forward.
That's right.
Was cool. That was very cool. So, guys, I think ultimately be open to pitching your book to people that like manga and anime. You will quickly notice they're very, very much like you in that, and the reason why they left comics for manga. If you have a con near you that's a comic book or an anime convention, be willing to go to both, and be willing to educate both people as to what you got going on with your stories.
Yep.
Have fan art. I recommend have fan art of any of
That's
the
huge.
voice actors or actors or artists or comic creators, whatever. If there are people there signing autographs for any reason, have something, a fan art of one of their characters. One, it'll bring you a sale, which is great, helps pay for your booth. Two, it will give you a reference to talk to them about.
That's right.
You will not attract people just having a book on the table.
Nope.
We've seen it countless times. You lay a book on the table, people just walk right by you.
That's right.
If you are going to have a booth, I will say recommend having your books up. Having your books up. I think that played a big role in your success in Matsuri as opposed to Comicpalooza as well. There was more people, and there was more people willing to spend, but I think in the way that you displayed your books was much more eye-catching this time.
Yeah.
So always have some way of propping your books up so that people can see it as they're walking by. That'll save you a lot. There's a science behind people not wanting to bend the neck to look down for too long, and it ends up chasing people away. When you have your books up, I can look forward. I'm not uncomfortable. I can sit there and have a conversation with you about your IP.
That's right.
So yeah, those are my takeaways for how you, as a creator, get people attracted to your booth, at least long enough for you to be able to educate them on your IP and make some sales and build your customer base.
Let's go.
Let's go, guys. Thank you all for coming and hanging out. I really, really do appreciate it. Please feel free to subscribe, hit that like button, do all the YouTube things. Please share this out actually on Twitter.
Yes.
If you found value in the things that we discussed today, please share this out so that everybody, all of our creator friends, can watch this, and hopefully it'll inspire them to do, step outside of the box and give them some tools to be successful in that venture.
That's right.
Thanks again, guys. Y'all have a great night.